Hey everyone, welcome to Pop Goes Big Brother Canada, and today we have a special guest joining us for a hangout. We've got the one and only Johnny from Big Brother Canada 3. Johnny, welcome to Pop Goes Big Brother Canada.
Yay! Hey, Johnny.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Oh, no worries. Thank you so much for joining us. It's going to be really cool to kind of dissect what's been happening in the house, ask you some questions about your time in the house and being a super fan and going there. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. I can't wait.
All right, so to kind of recap our week of what's going on, we're going to skim through the week. We have a lot of stuff that happened in the house. A huge announcement that can possibly shake up the house next week. Johnny, I'm pretty sure you're pretty glad to be out of that house now after that huge announcement. But we'll go from there. We'll start from Sunday, and
I
we'll.
mean, despite all of the twists and turns along the way, I would still give anything to be back in that house and playing right now. But I mean, with the big twists coming, it's going to be crazy for the house guests.
Absolutely, and they mentioned on the sideshow, we're the first, Big Brother Canada is the first ever to do a triple eviction. No one, US has never done it, they've always done double, so it's going to be very interesting to see how the fans take to it and how the house guests take to it as well, because there's going to be some drama going on in that house next week.
Absolutely. And I mean, in the house, we were always expecting the double, and we were expecting it at least a week or two ago. And now to have a triple, those guys are going to lose their heads when they announce it on Wednesday.
I can't wait. It's going to be fantastic TV, so it's going to be amazing. Yeah, let's go on to that. So we kind of went into the episode of last week. We're going to kind of merge Sunday and Monday and Wednesday and just kind of group everything together in the interest of time here. So I'm going to go back to Cindy is in the house right now, kind of us dissecting the week. And she's kind of confined in Willow, and she's kind of opened up and letting people know about the chop shop, and she was able to flip the house and work it to her end. How'd you feel about Cindy's game, in the house the first time and returning?
So first time, like having met Cindy, she came in and she really rubbed everyone a little bit the wrong way. I mean, she came in guns a-blazing, I'm Cindy with an S, and that sort of put everyone off a little bit. The thing about Cindy, though, is that she is a super sweet girl deep down inside, and I got some time to spend with her in sequester. And once you get to know Cindy, and if you can put aside, that she's a little bit full of herself, and she loves talking about herself, and if you can put that aside, she is a really sweet girl. She was really great to get to know. So that was sort of her like leading into the house. I mean, then she blew everything up with the conversation in the bathroom that Kevin overheard, and essentially put herself out the door with that conversation, unfortunately. And that sort of sealed her fate. Now, the Cindy going back in is a very different Cindy. She spent a lot of time in sequester, and she spent a lot of time getting to speak with all of the evicted house guests, myself included, and gather a lot of information. I think when Cindy was evicted, she really had no clue as to what was going on in the game at that point in time. I think between Neha, Greg, and myself, we really filled in all of the pieces for her as to what was happening and going on. And the Cindy that went back into the house after winning the competition, which I'm so upset that it wasn't me.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah, she went guns a-blazing, and she managed to work with what she had. I mean, we didn't know that anyone going in would have an HOH already in place, and there would be nominees. So that was certainly a surprise, I'm sure, for Cindy when she walked in. And then finding out that the number one target that we all had, Zach, was that HOH. Certainly was going to make things difficult for Cindy. And I think given the circumstances she had, she did the best she could possibly do and took out Zach's main man, JP. And I mean, there are a series of events that the two of those idiots made that led to JP getting evicted. But Cindy certainly orchestrated an amazing event that, and had the vote go right down to the wire, and it's amazing to finally see that these people are finally playing the game, at least maybe for 1 week.
Yeah, at least for the beginning time. Going back to the competition, how Cindy entered in the house. Obviously, you were part of that. The first, the 5 evictee house guests. You guys had an opportunity to get back in the house. Before even going into that competition, how nerve-wracking is it? Like, what's going through your mind? You really don't know what the competition is going to be. How stressful is it for you?
It was super stressful, and for me, I was evicted I was the last evictee. I was the fifth one joining the group, and I had very little time to actually sit down with the evicted house guest and really gather all of the information. It was like boom, boom, boom. I was confident going into the competition that I had it. It was one of those things that you kind of just have to do mind over matter type thing, and I thought to myself, I'm going to just go in there, I'm going to kill it, I'm going to do the best I can possibly do. I wanted it so badly, and I thought that that would have been enough to pull me through. Unfortunately, we walked onto the stage and saw what the competition was, and it was one of those ones that I knew in that moment that it was just something I wasn't going to be able to do. I knew I could, maybe do it for a little bit, but it was so hard. The knots were so small. Challenges like that are geared for small-framed women, unfortunately. So Greg, myself, and even Risha really didn't have a shot. That competition was going to come down to Cindy and Neha regardless of how long we stayed up there. And I mean, in the 4 minutes or 3 minutes, I actually stayed up on that knot. And when I actually fell and hit the ground, I had that moment where my Big Brother experience is actually over now. I mean, I had sort of come to terms with that in the house leading up to my eviction, and then I was given that slight glimmer of hope on stage with Arissa. But in that moment that I hit the mat and I was done, that's when I realized, this Big Brother experience is done for me, which sucks, but it is what it is. What can you do?
Yeah, of course. And you've been lucky enough to actually get that experience as a super fan. Your dog's named Vito. You've watched all the seasons of US and Canada and I think some other countries as well. So you're a huge super fan. Kind of reversing back a little bit, did you ever have any outer body experiences when you're in that house and you're like, oh my God, I'm in the DR. Oh my God, I'm in, the family room area. Like, how crazy was that?
I literally had that the entire time I was in there. That's how ridiculous it is. There were moments that I would sit and stare off into the distance, into the backyard, staring at the portraits on the wall, or even just in the living room and staring up at the screen with the Big Brother logo on it. And it was like, I'm actually in the Big Brother house. How ridiculous is this? And just like sitting in the DR room, and I mean, in the DR room, all we're talking to is a camera. And it's just so surreal. Like, it's such a real moment to be in that house. There were so many times that I was thinking to myself, I could be at home right now on the live feeds watching, but I'm in here instead. And it was so crazy. Like, absolutely ridiculous. Like a super dream come true.
Yeah, that's one off your bucket list.
Absolutely.
It's got to be, right?
Definitely.
Wow, amazing. So the way this week is kind of wrapped, kind of going the way that it has, we won't touch through everything, but Cindy got back in the house. She flipped the house. Within the first little bit that she was in, Godfrey won the POV comp, the KFC, I think, POV comp with the matching game. So, watching back and, you're out of the house, watching these kind of competitions, when you watch them, do you think, oh man, like I would have loved to do that, that competition, or I would have killed doing this?
Yeah, I mean, watching from home, the competitions this year have actually been ridiculous. So it's one thing for you guys to sit and watch these competitions, to actually compete in them. And for me, I literally, up until I was evicted, pretty much competed in every single competition. Yeah. And they're for real. These comps aren't easy. They are actually really hard. I mean, I froze my butt off in Damn It. That competition was ridiculous. You guys didn't even see how much, like, the aftermath of how cold that water was. It literally took us probably an hour and a half to get warmed up. We were trembling from how cold it was from that water, and it was crazy. That spooling around one, we were nauseated for basically the remainder of the evening after competing in that competition, myself included. A few of us, ended up puking after the competition. You guys didn't get to see that. So it's for real. These challengers are real, and they're hard. And for the people who sit at home and say, oh, I could totally do those, I would say take a step back for a second, and until you're in that situation, you really don't know how hard they actually are. The concentration one that they played in was probably one of the easier ones that we've sort of seen all season long. But I mean, there's a lot of strategy and a lot of mental involved with that type of competition. But not only that, they had a couple things thrown in there to like the mystery thing and the elimination. And I mean, it makes playing it that much difficult. And I mean, that moment when Cindy lifted the lid and pulled the eliminated card, I literally shed a tear for her because that's so heartbreaking. I mean, it was like my power veto competition where I went out and knew it wasn't going to happen. For Cindy, in that moment, she lifted that thing and she knew, damn, I could possibly be going home here. And that moment sucks. I felt it. I know how she felt when she lifted the lid.
Yeah, Johnny, that was kind of my question. That last POV for you, that was brutal. I mean, and let me give you. We have all been talking about how intense these competitions are this season. Like, really, I mean, we absolutely get it. Some of those, you're right, they've been crazy compared to years past, and especially even BBUS. So, yeah, I totally get how intense those competitions have been. But that last one you were in, the last POV, that was brutal. How did that feel? I mean, Kevin turned on you, then everybody was going against Johnny. So that sucked. Just watching it, that sucked. So tell me how that felt.
It was tough. When we walked out into the backyard and I realized the type of competition it was, and being a Big Brother super fan, I knew exactly what we were dealing with when we stepped foot out there. And I knew in that moment that I was not going to be winning that power veto, regardless of what I did. I did have a glimmer of hope that possibly Kevin, Brittany, myself, and Sarah would work together and take out Bobby and Bruno. But it became really apparent on the first shot, and I know that you guys didn't really get to see the full sequence of how the competition played out on the show, but the very first person to take a shot was actually Kevin. And in that very moment, when Kevin said that he was targeting me, I knew that it was going to be the house against me, and I knew, regardless of what I did, I wasn't going to have a shot in hell to win that competition, and it sucked. In that moment, I thought to myself, wow, this could be it for me. I wasn't going to give up yet, and I certainly didn't. I wasn't going to roll over and die or crawl into a bedroom and lay in bed all day, kind of like some of our other house guests who were evicted kind of did. I'm not going to name names, but I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. But I was going to go out guns a-blazing. So in that moment, it was absolutely devastating, especially devastating when I realized that, Kevin was not going to stick his neck out for me. I understand why he couldn't, just for his own game, and I totally get that. That's why for me, regardless of how my entire week went down, regardless of how betrayed I felt by a lot of the people in there, I can't hold it against them. They're playing a game, and for me, the game is separate from the personal. And so all these people I'm going to love and be friends with outside of the house, but game-wise, yeah, I was devastated, and I may have shed a tear or two. It just, that house is so emotional, it is what it is sometimes.
My next question for you is a little bit of a two-parter. One is, what was it that made you bond with Kevin so early on in the game? Like, did you feel an immediate connection to him going into it?
Absolutely. Literally from the minute Kevin walked in, and now this is going to sound ridiculous, but from the minute he walked in, I was like, they threw another gay guy in for me, and I was super excited. I legit thought Kevin was gay, and I was asking all the girls, and I was like, he's got to be gay, right? Like 100% he's gay. And everyone was like, I think so. So within the first 10 minutes, I had gone up to Kevin and I was like, are you gay? Because, I need to know. We can't beat around the bush here. I just need to know, are you gay? And he said no, but he did say this. He goes, I'm straight, but every straight guy has a little bit of gay in him. And I was like, what? From that moment forward, Kevin and I's bond really started to develop. As you probably saw on the show, we ended up spending the night under the steps cuddling. Yeah. And literally, our bond started right from day one. It was just this instant connection. He's got this amazing smile that's super infectious, this bubbly personality. He is someone that in the outside world I would gravitate towards, and naturally it sort of just happened in the house that way. We were really close. You guys didn't really get to see how close we were. Every night we would stop and chat with each other and check in on the happenings of the day and what might be going on in the game. And there were just times where we would just sit around together and just really get to know each other. So Kevin and I had a really close relationship and a really close bond in that house for sure.
That's awesome. How crazy is it? In that house, just the paranoia, because you're talking game with someone. How crazy is it in the back of your mind being, okay, I know this, I don't know, these two people went into the have-not room, I know they're talking about me. Like, what is the level of paranoia in that house?
The paranoia is ridiculous in the house. Let me tell you this, the entire 28 days that I spent in that house, I did not sleep. I basically got 1 to 2 hours of sleep a night. It was very light sleep. I was basically ready for anything to happen. As you can imagine, in a house like it is, there are tons of sounds and things going on all the time, 24/7. So every little sound sort of had me up. So basically, I was never rested or slept well in that entire house. And as a result, that doesn't help the paranoia that you experience, because like you said, you're having conversations with someone, and it could just be a personal conversation. And I mean, we are in the house 24/7 with these people. We're not always talking game. I mean, I would say 9 times out of 10, the conversation is about our personal lives or something to that effect, and it's not game. But the paranoia makes you think, oh my God, so-and-so are talking. They must be strategizing. They must be in an alliance together. And that paranoia is real. I think the one person who the paranoia sort of was like through the roof for was actually Greg. Greg was crazy in that house. He would literally, he couldn't sleep. He was the same as me. He would toss and turn all night, couldn't sleep. This guy would actually get out of bed though and sit at the top of the stairs and literally sit there and just like stare down at the house. And Neha and I got busted a couple times by Greg because we were in the storage room talking, and Neha comes out, and Greg is sitting at the top of the stairs like a psycho, staring at us. So yeah, the paranoia is real in that house. And I'll be honest with you, now that I've been out of the house for almost about 2 weeks now-ish, or since I was evicted, the paranoia is still real in your regular life. It takes a lot of adjusting once you get out. One, that you're not on camera 24/7 and you're not being listened to 24/7. And then two, that the conversations you have with people are genuine conversations, and there's no amount of paranoia or game going on. It's hard to get your head back into reality of the real world outside of Big Brother. So the paranoia is real, and I like I said, I still feel some of the paranoia here now. You know, it's crazy.
How many times did you wake up and grab for your mic in the last week or so?
Literally, for the first week after, I grabbed for the mic every single day. It was like,
Right.
it becomes such a part of you, and it becomes such a natural thing to just grab to put it on.
Right.
So for at least a week after I was out, and I was staying with Neha at her place in Toronto, and literally both of us, in the morning, we'd wake up, we weren't really sleeping, we'd toss and turn, but when we were actually getting up, we'd go to grab for, both of us would grab for our mic, and then we'd have a moment where we look at each other and just laugh, because it's ridiculous.
I figured.
So going back to Game Talk, you know, Peely was HOH. Pilar, you know, whatever. She was HOH. She puts up Godfrey. Godfrey ends up saving himself, winning the POV. Brittany gets put in the place of Godfrey. So we're now down to Cindy and Brittany on the chopping block. And going back to her gameplay, we have to give it to her. She did not back down. Cindy was in it to the end, trying to make any deals possible, trying to flip the house, talking to whoever they can, into a moment where she was trying to kind of align herself with Bruno too near the end and seeing what can be done there. So you got to hand to that girl. She fought tooth and nail to the very, very end. So it was very entertaining to watch. Going forward with that, you know, obviously didn't work to her advantage. She was voted out by unanimous vote. So I think going back into the house, she had even a obviously bigger target on her. What would your thoughts be, Johnny? Like if this person, let's say you're in the house and you're still there, someone comes in and you know, returning house guest, would you try to work with them, or would you say no, they're gonna blow up my game, they need out?
I think I would have heard Cindy out. I mean, I know she didn't go in right away and tell everyone that she had all this information, and she only told select people like Sarah and then Brittany select piece of information. I mean, Sarah knew everything, but had she have come to me with info from Sequester and said that, you know, I spent the last X amount of days in Sequester and I have all this info, damn rights I would have been listening, because that's information that you just don't have in the house. And you know, to know about the chop shop and have the actual names of the people in it and the name of the alliance, to me, there wouldn't have been a question about who my target would have been in that house. Unfortunately, we've got a lot of people in the house, and I hate to say it, that are just, they're not thinking for themselves and they're not playing the game. And it drives me crazy because as a super fan, I went in there wanting to play the game. I mean, I wanted, and Neha and I can agree on this one for sure, that Neha and I wanted literally an epic season like Big Brother 6 style from the US, where there are two sides of the house divided and you duke it out back and forth. That's what I was looking for in the house, and I was so prepared to do that. But no one else was. Everyone else is sort of playing the under-the-radar game. No one wants to rock the boat. The motto for our season has really been, no one wants to get blood on their hands. I mean, like, this is Big Brother. This is what you do. You have to get blood on your hands. I was ready to gut a pig. Like, I mean, Get the blood on my hands. I don't even care. But these people weren't willing to play, and it was super frustrating. And for someone like Cindy going in with all of the info and trying to leverage it, and she did very well in the week that she was back, but it sort of just fizzed out. And I mean, everyone sort of re-gravitated back to their old ties and their old alliances. The thing that actually drives me crazy about what's happening in that house right now is that it revolves around Zach. Zach was basically exposed about being in every single alliance.
Yeah.
And everyone has still somehow gravitated back to him to form an alliance with him. What the hell are these people thinking?
Right. What is going on? It's driving us crazy too. Okay. It is absolutely driving all the watchers are going nuts as well, Johnny. I promise you. I don't get the thing with Zach. What is the power he has over everybody? I just don't get it. None of us get it.
I mean, he's a cute guy and he's got great abs, but aside from that, he's actually a terrible game player. I mean, he situated himself in all of these alliances, but when you hear him talk game and strategy, he has no idea what's going on, and it's ridiculous that these people still go to him. I don't get it. I still don't understand.
It's crazy. Going forward, the people that are remaining in the house, who do you hope really amps up their game? Now, Godfrey's speeches have been really epic, and you can tell he's telling people, hey, this isn't a show, man. This isn't like summer camp. This is Big Brother. We're here to play. I really hope that he backs his words up now going forward. He can win the comps, win HOH, hopefully. Out of the remaining people, who do you hope kind of steps their game up, or maybe kind of sets themselves apart from Zach and maybe create their own little alliances and kind of move to get him out of the game?
Absolutely. So Godfrey is a perfect example. Like you said, Godfrey, while I was in the house, basically slept the entire time we were in there. So to see him wake up now that I'm out and be this completely different person and this different character blows my mind. But I love it. I wish that Godfrey was in the house when I was in there, because I could have worked with someone like that. So yeah, I would love to see Godfrey bulldoze through. I love to see him win the upcoming HOH competition on next Wednesday, because that's going to be a crucial one. And I think he can do some major damage in the house. Sarah is also playing a really great game. Yes. Sarah and I basically thought we were both up on the block. Whomever stayed, we figured was going to be the next one out the door. And she has really sort of fallen into the background again. And she's playing a great game. She has all of the information that Cindy brought to her from Sequester, which is awesome. And I think Sarah, if she continues to sort of stay under the radar and kind of let the big guns go at each other, she could go really far. The only other person that I think there needs to be something to be said about is Kevin. Kevin, up until this point, although he comes off as looking like this mastermind in the house, Kevin has been, for the most part, pretty clueless this entire game. He really has no idea what was going on. I think he came to a realization the night of his HOH. This was before we realized that he actually made nominations, when Neha had almost basically flipped the entire house. In that moment, I think that's when Kev realized what was actually happening in the game. And even now, to me, even since all of this has happened, he's kind of fallen back to being completely clueless about what's going on. So my hope for Kevin, especially with him, being in power this week, is that he needs to get his head out of Zach's ass and actually do something. Do something that's good for his game, not Zach's game. Going after Godfrey doesn't make sense for Kevin's game, because Godfrey's going to target Zach. And at some point, Kevin has to get rid of Zach. So leave Godfrey in the house so that he can go after Zach for you.
Right.
For Kevin's game, he needs to go after Bobby and Bruno. Those are the two big people that he needs to go after right now. And I think if he can sort of position that to happen this week, he is going to be in the best position moving forward. And I think that if he can distance himself from this diaper alliance that everyone hates and despises, he's going to get himself out of the crosshairs, because Bruno and Bobby are going to target Zach and Kevin. It's only inevitable, and they're going to go head to head. And if Zach or Kevin are not willing to make the first strike, Bobby and Bruno are going to, and they don't even care. It's going to happen. And so Zach saying that, let's go after Godfrey is stupid. I mean, it's good for Zach's game, but it's not for Kevin's game, and Kevin needs to target Bruno and Bobby. He has to.
I agree.
And yeah, absolutely. That very well said. You're just everything that we've been talking about, you're just kind of reiterating, and it totally makes sense. So it's awesome that we're on board, and we kind of got the same mentality, so it's awesome. Now, if you can pick in the interest of time, if you can pick like a final two, who do you hope is sitting there at the end if you were watching as a fan?
If I'm watching as a fan, I mean, we love epic final twos, but I mean, we also love final twos like last year on Big Brother Canada 2 when we had John versus Sabrina. I mean, we love to watch John cut Netta at the very end. I mean, it was heartbreaking, but we love to see people make a big move like that, and that move won John the game.
Mm-hmm.
So what would I like to see at the end? I honestly would love to see Kevin there in the final two. I think are against someone like Ely. I think he could totally clean up on the votes against Ely. So he could take his showmance to the absolute end. I think that the real interesting part was, if things continue the way they are, and if Kevin doesn't get his head out of Zach's ass, we could see a final four being the Diaper Alliance. And, I would love to see an epic fashion. No, it could happen, you guys. At Zach at the final, at the very bitter end, and then take the cash home for himself. I hope that's not the case. If I had an ideal final three, it would be Kevin, it would be Sarah, and it would be Bruno, because I feel like those three are really playing great games, or potentially playing great games, and I think that those three are the ones that deserve to win the money as far as I'm concerned.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Jusly, what about you? Who do you think? Final two?
I agree. I mean, Bruno is a pretty slick fella. I love him and Godfrey together. I think they really need each other if they're going to. I mean, of course, one of them is going to be knocked out for sure, but. I love Godfrey, and I just had to say, I wrote down one thing. The reason I love Godfrey is because of his little comments, like the one this past show. He said he's 3.5% Caucasian. How do you not love Godfrey? Come on, he is such a lovable kind of guy.
Or when he wanted to eat Marsha the Moose.
Oh,
yes,
that was hilarious. But yeah, that is so incredible. And you were so right. Like, he literally said you woke the sleeping giant. He was sleeping, but that was actually probably good for his game the first couple weeks. So yeah, I'm really pulling for Godfrey. I hope he makes it. And Sarah's doing the best she could. Hopefully she can slide through. But yeah, we got to get that Diaper Alliance out of there. And for what happened to Kevin, Peely is what happened to Kevin, okay? Peely is what happened, and Peely is a cute little, young, naive thing, but Peely drives me nuts, okay? She drives me absolutely nuts. She's got to go, and maybe Kevin's head will get back in the game. His big head will get back in the game.
All right, so it's unanimous. All three of us. It's unanimous, all three of us. So we want to hopefully you will see final three: Bruno, Kevin, and Sarah. So hopefully that pans out. I know in interest of time, Johnny, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know we got prior engagements to go to, so we really appreciate you kind of being able to fit us into the schedule. Let your fans know, if they don't know your Twitter handle or your blog or whatnot, how can fans stay connected with you now that you're outside of the Big Brother Canada house?
So fans can stay connected to me on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is Colatruglio, so JCOLATRUGLIO, and they can follow me on there. I love posting, live tweeting while the show is on, so stay tuned for that. I have some sassy comments, and I like to be a little bit of a jerk sometimes. I told the house guests on my way out that I was going to roast them a little bit on Twitter, and so that's certainly what I've been doing. So those are fun. I'm on Instagram, Johnny Colatruglio, JOHNNYCOLATRUGLIO, so they can check me out there. And also, I have a Facebook fan page, Johnny Colatruglio, there as well. So you can check me out on all three of those.
Amazing, awesome. And we'll make sure we'll check you out come the finale night. You'll be back on our TV screens and come the finale, so that'd be amazing to watch. And thank you so much again for joining us, fans. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, keep in touch with him. And thank you so much for joining us on Pop Goes Big Brother Canada.
I've got one more thing really quick. I cannot let you get... I can't let you get by and out of this whole podcast without asking one thing. You must elaborate, okay? Give me 20 seconds, okay? Elaborate on the kiss with Zach. Go.
Oh, the hot tub.
The kiss with Zach. The kiss with Zach was actually really good. He actually even gave me some tongue too. So
Oh.
Zach really broke down all the stereotypes for me when it came to your typical jock, and that was great. Zach as a person is a nice guy. Zach as a game player sucks. I would gladly kiss Zach again in a heartbeat.
Perfect. Thank you. It looked like an awesome kiss, okay? It really looked like an awesome kiss. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Johnny.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, no worries. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Johnny.